Recording live in the Lucky Number 7 Lounge, this is Dine, Drink Vegas, the podcast by and for everybody stuck at home, wishing they were in the land of neon lights and bad decisions. I'm your host, John, also known as the Baller on a Budget, and you've stumbled across my run sheet says 82, but this is episode 83, where we're going to give you some tasty booze and lots of Las Vegas news. But before we can get to that premium top shelf and excitingly free Las Vegas content, we have to make an introduction. Yes, of course, ladies and gentlemen. I am speaking of the High Roller, formerly of the High Plains, the leader in the luxury lounge, the king of comps, the Alabama Slammer, the founder of Dine, Drink Vegas and Dine, Drink Travel himself. Yes, that man that is always waiting on the limo to take him to his next luxury destination. I mean, Bill. Bill, I understand you're a little sore tonight.
Yeah, but not like existentially about the state of the world. Like I'm physically sore because I'm old, John.
Yeah, I know that feeling, but I didn't commit murder at work today. And I feel like because you put out physical effort at something and I didn't kill somebody who might have deserved it, we both deserve a drink.
We do deserve a drink. And I you know what? I'm going to editorialize for just a second. Folks, one of the things I do to try to make my community better is I coach youth baseball. I threw batting practice literally without stopping for an hour and 40 minutes, and I'm just too old to throw anything that many times. So, John, what are we drinking to make my pain better?
So, listener Chaplain Obvious, my fellow seminary graduate, I would assume, made the suggestion that we should get around to making the official state cocktail of the state of Nevada. Nevada. All right, I can't say anything. I'm going to mispronounce everything this episode. So, it turns out that is a drink called the Picon Punch. P-I-C-O-N, not Pecan Punch. That would be the nut in the backyard. But Picon Punch. And this is a cocktail that goes all the way back to Basque settlers in northern Nevada in the 19th century. It bears its name because there's a type of French Amaro called Pecan, which neither you and I could get a hold of. So we'll get into that in a minute. But were you to make this according to spec, it would be an ounce and a half of Pecan, a quarter ounce of grenadine, a half ounce of brandy that you can do as a float or stir in, and then club soda chilled to the top of your glass. You build all that in the glass over ice and garnish with a lemon peel. So, Bill, let's start first of all with how did you go about imitating the Pecan? Because the recipe from liquor.com had suggestions, but I don't know what was available in your town and your liquor cabinet.
So let me back up. I actually made a different mistake. I made one variation, and it was a straight up, like it was a mistake. I didn't put club soda in this. I'm like, I'll just serve it in a regular rocks glass without the club soda. And that was 100% a mistake because the drink I have is too syrupy and too sweet. So I should have served it in a highball glass or something else with the club soda. But to answer your question, John, I used Amaro Nonino because that's what I had. I'm pretty sure I've gotten another Amaro around here. But again, baseball practice, didn't have time to look for the things. But yeah, I made it to spec just without the club soda. And that was an absolute mistake. This is too syrupy and sweet. How about you, John? What'd you do?
So I first of all, I do have the club soda, and I will tell you right now, with the club soda, this is light, it's refreshing, it's pleasant. I encourage you, if you have club soda in the house, you should go grab some.
You know, it's at some point while you're doing a news story, I may go do that because this, like I can tell I should like this. It's just that right now I don't.
Yeah. So liquor.com says that if you can't get a hold of Pecan, which most Americans cannot, they say that for your ounce and a half, you should do a 2-to-1 ratio of Ramazzotti Amaro, which I happen to have a bottle of that, but it's highly oxidized. My father-in-law had it in his liquor cabinet for I don't know how long. It's still drinkable, but a little oxidized. 2 parts of dry curacao and 1 part of a gentian liqueur. Well, I didn't have that, but I had Campari, which is heavily bittered with gentian, which is what you want the gentian for, is the bitterness. And my ratio was more like 1-1-1. So I've got a little more of the gentian, but I like the bitterness of that. And I was downplaying the Ramazzotti because it's a little oxidized. So I did a half ounce each of the Ramazzotti, the dry curacao, and the Campari. And then everything else I did according to the recipe. I did not have one of the Irish coffee glasses handy, so I just did it in a highball glass. The one thing I did different is I did not float the half ounce of brandy on top. I tried it that way and decided I just wanted to stir it in, and that was better. So if you order this in a bar, if you find one that makes it, they probably will float it on top. My recommendation is go ahead and stir the brandy in. So it really was, I think this is delightful. And Bill, I'm looking forward to what you think once you get some club soda.
So, two things. One, I think I would have enjoyed it with a little more brandy. And two, I really want to highlight the fact that we appreciate that Chaplain Obvious put this out for us. Listeners, if you've got something you want to see us try live and on the air, comments, reach out to us on social media. You can, I know that we check YouTube Music. I know that we check Podbean. I know we check all of the podcasting platforms we possibly can. But we really appreciate the listener suggestion for this drink. Thank you, Chaplain Obvious. And if anyone else has a drink, we will try it, hopefully on a day when I didn't throw a baseball 500 times.
Yeah, that's a good plan. Bill, we're going to jump into news, but I want to do something because I want to let you go get the club soda so that you can enjoy the drink. So I'm going to save the first story for third, and I'm going to run through 2 and 3 while you go grab club soda. Because the third one is a gut punch for you, and I really want to get your reaction.
Are you going to make me read that story, or are you going to read it and watch me cry?
I can read 3 in a row if need be, and then let you take the wheel.
All right, I'm going to go get club soda. I'll be back.
Okay. Well, as usual, we start with Scott from Vital Vegas. And this week, Scott shared stories of 3 different restaurant closings. We're going to save the big one that broke today. We're recording on Tuesday for last. So, one, starting with places that Bill doesn't care about. The Golden Nugget has closed Grotto Ristorante. Scott speculates, quite naturally, that it may be replaced by another Landry's-owned concept since Tillman Fertitta owns both the Nugget and the Landry's brand. And most of the dining options on property at Landry's are owned by Tillman's companies, except for the Chick-fil-A and the Starbucks. Ooh, I see Bill coming back into frame. I should have saved this story for a second. I have a question for Bill. All right. And another one that's also a downtown story. Over at the Plaza, they are closing Just Rice, which was a fast casual Asian eatery located in the food court at the Plaza. Scott did not have information about which particular restaurant will take its place, but we know this is part of a shakeup at the Plaza that involves bringing in In-N-Out Burger and moving Pop-Up Pizza over to the food court side. I'm kind of wondering if Pop-Up's going to go in the Just Rice location or if it'll go in the old McDonald's location. Bill, since you're back, let's back up for a second. First of all, with the club soda, did that change the drink for you?
It absolutely did. And this is much better. What I was going for is the fact that I usually prefer whiskey in a glass, maybe with some bitters, maybe with a little bit of sugar, and a couple other things. But I usually prefer a shorter drink in a whiskey rocks glass. I was wrong about that for this drink. Like, this is absolutely better with the club soda.
Yeah, and I will say this is not a very high proof liquor unless you're using higher proof Amaros. The brandy that I used is 80 proof, but everything else in here is far less than that. So in 2 ounces of spirits altogether, I probably have less than an entire serving of alcohol because that half ounce of brandy is doing the heavy lifting. So this is light. It's refreshing. It's almost got a cola vibe to it, but it's very unique. And
that's it. Cola.
Yeah.
That's what I'm tasting. This is a cola vibe. Well played, John.
But it's not cloyingly sweet like most colas. And it is the kind of thing you could drink 4 or 5 of these and probably shouldn't drive a car by 4 or 5, but you are not going to make horribly bad life decisions after 4 or 5, right?
Absolutely.
So, Bill, I wanted to back up before we get to the sad news. When I talked about Grotto closing at the Golden Nugget, I highlighted that Scott thinks another Landry's concept is going to come in. You and I have both spent a lot of time in cities with a lot of Landry's type places. Do you have any idea what you would like to take this spot?
Do they already have a Papados in there?
So Papados is the Greek Papa Brothers.
They're vaguely seafood kind of place.
Right, but it's a different brand.
Right.
But there's
But
yeah.
is
So
that not
Papa,
owned by Land? Oh, right. I'm sorry. In
yeah.
my defense, I spent a lot of time in Houston, and Landry's and the Papa's family run together for me. Um, so no, right? Like, and I think to the point, a lot of the Landry stuff and a lot of the Papa's stuff runs together for me. So no, there is not a particular one I would like to have because you've already got the steak place, you've already got the seafood place, you've already got a fast casual place. Like, I think you've tapped out the end of the Landry's inventory.
So I was looking around on the Landry's website and looking at all of their options. They do have some fast casual options, including a pizza place. So if they're closing down the formal dining Italian and they want pizza, that's an option. But I've got one to throw out because there is one in Galveston on the seawall. That would be Brick House Tap Garden.
You have my attention.
So it's a bar and grill with a craft beer focus. I think Golden Nugget already has fine dining covered with two different steakhouses. Their Saltgrass is definitely not set up as a fine dining place, but the quality of the food, if you've never been to a Saltgrass, for a chain steakhouse, is pretty damn good. And then you've got Vic and Anthony's. So I think that something like a bar and grill would make a lot of sense for what downtown has become. And I think Grotto may have been a little too bougie for the vibe there.
Yeah, and yet it wasn't bougie enough to get me to go there at any point.
Yeah. Well, now we've got to move on to the sad part. Listeners, tonight we pour one out for our beloved leader in the luxury lounge favorite restaurant. Scott at Vital Vegas reported today that Le Cirque will end its 28-year run as Bellagio's elite French cuisine destination on August 23rd of this year. It's worth noting, Le Cirque Vegas outlasted its New York originator by an impressive 8.5 years, but sadly, all things must come to an end. Bill, I'm sure this will not be the only episode that we eulogize Le Cirque, but would you like to say any words about your beloved eatery and your friend Martin, who will now be either retiring or finding a new job?
So, one of the things which makes a travel destination great is that there are particular locations you feel drawn to. Le Cirque was absolutely magical. I have whatever. I've been there with you. I've been there with the guys. I've been there with my wife. I've been there by myself a couple of times. I was planning a trip there with a different friend, which is apparently now not going to happen. And the food was great, but it was mostly the service and the experience. So the first trip I went there, which was roughly 2014, I was supposed to go with two of my buddies. You and I had met at that point, but I don't think we really knew each other.
No, not quite.
So my friend Rob had his flight fogged out and couldn't get there. And my friend Ryan became ill and wasn't able to join me. I'm like, I've got these reservations. I'm going to show up. They seated me anyway. They treated me lovely. I went there several more times through the years, and they remembered me every time. And sure, some of that's notes in their reservation system. But here's why I don't think that's all it was. A couple of years ago, I went in there with my friend Mike, and I didn't have time or money for dinner. I just went and sat at the bar. And Martin, my waiter, saw me across the room, walk up to me at the bar, said, "Oh, Mr. Harlow, it is so good to see you. Here at Le Cirque, we do things a little different." And then they just started bringing me free snacks. Right.
Yeah.
Like it was that sort of place. I think the challenge Le Cirque had, and my guess about why they're closing, is I make pretty good money. I couldn't afford to eat there anymore. Like, their prices kept going up and up and up beyond the point of inflation, and it was getting to where it was kind of redonkulous. So it used to be a special treat, and then it became something that was truly obscene, out of my price range, thus out of the price range of a lot of people. My guess is that it became a victim of its own success. It became so good that they started charging so much that they priced themselves out of the market of too many people too often. But I don't know how I get back to Vegas before August 23rd, because I've got, as you know, John, life things going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that restaurant, like, this legitimately makes me sad because that is a huge part of my Vegas experience, and I would plan entire trips around just that one meal. So listeners, I guess what I'm encouraging you to do is find the place that you care about and dive into it. And here's the thing, for me, it was Le Cirque. For you, I don't know, maybe it's that. Maybe it's a pizza joint. Maybe you like going to watch the zombie burlesque show. I don't know what your thing is, but find the thing that matters to you and dive into it deep, because that'll make the travel experience much richer. And in places that aren't Vegas, sure, you've got other options. I increasingly am traveling to Dublin and to Cork, Ireland. I've got a pub in Cork, which is occupying a kind of similar emotional space. But yeah, this absolutely makes me sad, John.
Yeah, Bill, I totally understand. I think that one of the things that happens when you are a repeat tourist to Vegas is you do get attached to places. And even though Vegas always changes, and even though what comes next may be awesome, usually Vegas tourists, we're pretty philosophical and we don't get too upset. But when it's something that was special to you, that one does hurt. And I get that. For me, of all things, it was cheap, but my wife and I had a thing for Bruxy. And Bruxy is gone. They're still out in California, but not in Vegas. And there's something about a chicken and waffle for me when you're hungover. I have a thing for breakfast food. And Bill, I think you're 100% right. Whatever you like about Vegas, cherish while you got it, because absolutely nothing in Vegas will last forever.
So I want to say something, last thing before we move on. I want to say something to one particular listener, because I know that my oldest son, Edwin, listens to this. Son, by the time John gave me this information, you were already in bed in Ireland. I wasn't waking you up. That would have resulted in your mother killing me until I was dead. But this was absolutely going to be a part of our experience when we went next year, when you're 21, because you and I can drink in the bars in Ireland. Turns out we can't do that in Vegas. They've got more rules there. And I am sad, son, that this changes what our experience was going to be. I mean, we'll make do. I bet somebody will grill us a nice steak, but that was absolutely going to be part of our experience, son. I am very sorry.
Yeah, Bill, I hear you on that. I know you'd been looking forward to that trip with your firstborn for quite a while. So there are some other lovely French restaurants in Las Vegas, but I know that one was special to you, and I am sorry, my friend.
Thank you very much. All right. Well, should I move on or should you?
If you don't mind, pick up with Las Vegas locally.
All right. They shared that Harry Reid International Airport has added real-time approximate TSA security waiting times to its official website. I think that is a useful tool, but John, I am genuinely curious about how accurate those are going to be, particularly given that when you really need those is when you're deciding when to leave for the airport, because once you're at the airport, you're kind of there. John, do you have pre-check yet?
Yes, I do. And that is a lifesaver, although at least out of my airport, I think everybody got pre-check. So now the pre-check line could be a thing sometimes too, although we're pretty efficient out here in far West Texas.
Although in the Las Vegas airport, it makes a huge difference.
Yes, it absolutely does. I will say this. You are correct. Let's say I check it at 8 a.m. I've got a 1 o'clock flight. Even if I check it right before I leave for the airport, there's no way to know if a big rush will come through or they have to close down a line. So this is a helpful tool, but a lot could still go wrong. I think travelers can use this to kind of get a pulse on how the airport's doing that day, but I would not use this as an excuse to be as late as you possibly think you can get away with at the airport, because stuff can go bad quick.
100%.
If you want to take 2 in a row, because I want to sip on my drink for a sec.
All right. So Las Vegas Weekly reports that the Venetian is launching an event series called Culinary Crossroads, which will feature the chefs of the resort's many restaurants sharing food and more importantly, stories with participants. The series debuts on April 16th with the 2026 edition of the Mentor competition, which looks like it is accented, and I probably just mispronounced the French, but in English, Mentor with a weird hyphen, for young chefs, followed by a special dinner hosted by Thomas Keller. Dinner tickets run $250, and a VIP package is available for the tiny little price of $6,000. And as a side note, John, Thomas Keller is one of my favorite celebrity chefs in Las Vegas, because his restaurant in the Venetian, he's actually at for like 4 weeks. a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I give him some credibility that I don't assign to other Vegas chefs. Like apparently he spends a month there. Most of his time it's French Laundry and apparently takes a night off at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. John, any interest?
Yes, and there's a couple more to get to in a second, but for the Thomas Keller, $250 for a dinner that is curated and presented by Chef Keller. That is the epitome of baller on a budget. I will probably never be able to afford French Laundry. As close as I'm getting to eating in the room while Thomas Keller walks me through the menu is something like this. And even though I can't get there for this particular date because that's here in a couple of days, and I got this whole JOB situation, anybody that can go should. This is epic baller on a budget.
So let me close on this story with one last thing, John. You should absolutely try out Bouchon, which is the steak restaurant I was talking about in the Venetian. Because is he personally going to come out and are you going to hang out? No. And is he there? Probably not. But he's there 3 or 4 weeks a year. Like he might be. And the people who are cooking have actually been trained by him. Like it's not like it's Guy Fieri or Bobby Flay who did a drive-by on opening night, never came back. Like he actually runs his stuff.
Yeah.
So you could actually go to a Thomas Keller place. And is it exactly the same as a French Laundry? No. But it's pretty good. And John, you and I can both afford to eat at Bouchon.
Yeah. And they have a pastry shop as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, what else do we have, John?
Well, before we move on to the next story, just to follow up on a few more at the Venetian in this series, Wolfgang Puck and his son will host a Generations event on April 30th. And this one excites me too. Chef Jose Andres will present Spain My Way on May 31st. This one, they're actually going to serve dinner in their theater, so they're packing a crowd in there. More events are being added to the resort's website as they are scheduled. Not going to lie, Bill, if they do one with Yardbird, I may have to find a way to get there.
Ooh. Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, by the way, Rachel, I know you don't listen to this usually, mostly all of the time very closely, which means I can say this and you'll get, I can tell you I told you. When I disappear for a few days this summer, right after you move here to Alabama, it's totally not because I went to Las Vegas to eat at Le Cirque. Love you. Bye.
Yeah. Just speaking of wives, if the head chef from Chica does one of these, my wife will want to go to that. I wonder if and when that will be. All right. On the other end of the dining spectrum, Vegas Publicity reports that Hofbrauhaus, the just off-strip German beer hall known for its fine German food and waitresses who spank patrons for drinking shots, will host their 7th annual pretzel eating contest on April 25th. The event is known for plenty of beer and appearances by local celebrities and entertainers, including both, wow, that's a horrendous typo, male and female eye candy. They bring in the Chippendales and some showgirls for this. All the contestants are the local celebrities, and the winner gets $1,000 donated to the charity of their choice, and they get the privilege to tap the first keg of Maibach, the German beer style, brewed to celebrate the month of May. Bill, I'm sure the celebrity series Culinary Crossroads at Venetian is far more leader in the luxury lounge, but I think there's just enough Texas trash in you to also enjoy Hofbrauhaus for Pretzel Day.
I have enjoyed Hofbrauhaus, and I would go again, and mostly because it's not altogether clear to me that our friend Derek remembers the time that he got paddled for having a shot. Thus, he owes us another trip. You
Indeed.
Go till you remember the pain.
Yes, and Helga swings a mean paddle.
Helga was hurt as a child, and she took it out on Derek, hence why he lost like 8 years of his life.
Yeah, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, no, but I'm glad I was there for it. In news which is decidedly rather more upscale, according to the Las Vegas Review-Journal, a penthouse on the 42nd floor of the Waldorf Astoria closed last month for $10.1 million. The suite has 3,922 square feet, although that somehow only left room for 2 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. My house is considerably smaller than 3,922 square feet and has more bedrooms and bathrooms than that. The sale broke local records. So, John, my guess is unless you've gotten a pay raise I don't know about, you're not buying a $10.1 million penthouse on the Las Vegas Strip. But what would make you buy a property on the Vegas Strip?
Oh, well, certainly there are some townhomes and condos that run under $500,000 that are essentially glorified hotel rooms. Some of them are actually in buildings that operate as hotels, such as Vidara. And I could absolutely see having one of those properties. I don't believe in getting into timeshares, but if I had the money to buy a condo that I could have a lock-in closet to put all my stuff in and use a management company to rent out when I'm not there to help me pay for the thing and then spend all the time in Vegas I want. That's a deal I would jump on. That's kind of what the people who own cabins and condos and houses in beachfront towns like Galveston do. I think that'd be a really smart move. And like I said, you could do that at Vidara, you could do that at the Signature at MGM Grand, you could do that at what is it, the Polo Club there on the Strip. I think that's a pretty good idea. Bill, what about you?
So I hate the notion of owning a property that I don't truly own. And if you're in a shared building, you never really own it because while you may own your space, you don't own the ground underneath it, which means you're always liable for various fees and stuff like that. So it is hard for me to see. But sure, romantically, I love the notion of having a permanent spot in Las Vegas.
I will say my wife and I, as we get older and we anticipate both of us will be high maintenance geezers, we are thinking about buying a condo when we retire, knowing that we're going to have maintenance fees and that sort of things with the condo association. But because those financial obligations come with perks, like something major breaks, you've already paid to fix it by your fees. And there are property managers on site to take care of that. So I hear you about ownership, but there is a trade-off there.
So there is a trade-off. Hence why I have something to say, but the trade-off just isn't going to be worth it to me.
No, I get that. So Bruno Mars is bringing back a story we've discussed before. We've talked about his alleged gambling debt to MGM several times on the show. But according to casino.org, he addressed this live on stage on an April 10th concert, saying that as of now, he is completely free of his gambling debt and has no problem paying his gambling bills. Bill, I believe Mr. Mars, but you just got to wonder if he'll ever incur a new one.
I absolutely believe him for now. My guess is the person I want, if I'm a Vegas hotel operator, I absolutely want to bring in someone like him who is a huge draw and, theoretically might give his paycheck right back.
I mean, when he spent so much money that you arranged with the city to name a street after him between two of your properties, I'm just saying.
God bless. I am glad he had a good evening.
And by the way, that concert was after the naming ceremony for that street that runs between New York at Park MGM by the T-Mobile Theater. And I believe the concert was at Dolby Live, which is a stage he performs on a bunch. By the way, Bill, speaking of places I miss, was he not a part owner of Rum Bar at the Mirage?
I don't know, but I do know that I loved Rum Bar. I know I loved the Mirage. By the way, John, new live and on there, I haven't told you before. You know what I may get to do?
No.
I may get to tour the Hard Rock before it opens.
Oh, I got to hear more about this.
Yeah.
We could save that for off air, but
we'll do that for off air. But I love the Mirage. I'm willing to give this one a shot.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I very much miss the Mirage, but staying in a giant hotel with a view up and down the Strip, yeah, sign me up.
Absolutely. Well, finally, Vegas, listeners, one of our favorite segments on this story is Vegas WTF, just the weird, wild, wonderful stories, which shows Vegas to be what it is. And this one's not exactly out of Las Vegas. It's from Pahrump, which is another city in southern Nevada, but Vegas adjacent. Former Hollywood Madam Heidi Fleiss has retired to Pahrump to look after birds of a different feather. Specifically, she runs a sanctuary for neglected parrots, and that's right, parrots, like the bird, And her new clients are apparently even louder than the old ones. With roughly 30 parrots in her care, as of spring 2026, she is locked in a dispute with a neighbor over a whole different sort of noise violation. So, John, how does this compare to your experience with her last business?
I have more experience with parrots than I do with the ladies of the night, because I have never been a client of a lady of the night.
You didn't pay your tab?
In a previous line of work, I had several ladies of the night confess their sins to me, which was fascinating, but that's information I will not divulge because there are things that people expect to remain private. But yeah, I good for her for making an honest living. Although I suppose at Perup she could make an honest living the other way as well. That's perfectly legal and frequently practiced in that part of the state of Nevada. But honestly, she's been the punchline of a lot of jokes. She got name dropped in a Kid Rock song. You know what? She's living a private life, trying to do something good for some animals that may have been mistreated, because we know a lot of exotic birds get mistreated by owners who don't know what they're getting into. You know what? Good for Miss Fleiss. Good for her. She should be proud of what she's doing with her life now.
She should. I do feel a little bad for the neighbor who's got 30 parrots making noise next door.
Yeah, that would be a little obnoxious.
Yeah,
that really would.
A real challenge.
Yeah, especially if she's trained them all to sing the Kid Rock song that drops her name all day. That would just be the absolute worst. And I shudder to think of the things I would teach a parrot to say if I had one. Yeah, that's a road I'm just not going to go down. Anyway, on that note, Bill, I think it's time that we should bring this episode in for a landing, because there's nowhere good we could go riffing about Heidi Fleiss and foul-talking birds. So why don't you tell the listeners where they can find more Dine Drink Vegas and Dine Drink Travel content?
Folks, you can find us on YouTube at Dine Drink Vegas, where I bring you short and focused videos to help you plan your next trip to Vegas. Things like 5 or 10 minutes on a particular hotel or restaurant or something like that. Increasingly, I'm also putting content on Dine Drink Travel, including things like the executive lounges at the Las Vegas airport, my trips to Ireland, and some hotel reviews out of Las Vegas. You can find me on essentially every social media platform at Dine Drink Travel, but the most important of those may be X, because that's where you find John.
And on X, I am more than happy to talk to you about fine coffee, fine beverages, about barbecue, about travel in Las Vegas or my beloved state of Texas, and me trying to figure out why in the heck Jerry Jones hasn't made the big splashy signing he's been promising all offseason. Anyway, we're so glad you took the time to listen to this episode. Please help us to grow our brand by sharing the link to this episode and any other episode you've enjoyed to other people. Put it on your social media pages. Give it to that one friend that's planning a trip to Vegas and needs our sage travel wisdom, or that mortal enemy that hates listening to old fat white guys drink and talk and drink and talk. Either way, you're helping us grow our brand and build an audience so we can keep bringing you this premium top shelf Las Vegas entertainment week after week, month after month, and year after year. Thank you so much for listening. And until the next episode, happy travels.